Beautiful human beings, what's going on? Agents, Decepticons, bots, watchers, lurkers, what's up? Hope everybody's doing great today. Even those of you that just lurk and stare and don't engage, shout out to you guys as well. All right, let's get right into this, okay? This video is going to be 5 ways to know that you're a chosen one, that you've been chosen by the Most High for a specific purpose here on this earth. Now, the saying goes, many are called, few are chosen. So this isn't something that makes us better than anybody else. It just means that we're paying attention because God's calling on all of his children. It's just that a lot of them have their ears and their eyes covered. They're scared. They don't want to give up the ways of the world. All right, so here's 5 ways to know that you've been chosen. And I want to open this up with a little bit of scripture, all right? So this is from Isaiah, book of Isaiah 44:2. Thus saith the Lord that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou, Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring. And then it goes on to talk about some more stuff, but I'm going to stop right there. So essentially here, what's being said is that before you were even born, God chose you. Before you even were born. And God protects you. God feeds you. God houses you. God gives you water when you're thirsty. If we are obedient to God, we are living in God's will, then we receive all of these things. We don't have to even ask for them. They're given to us. All we have to do is follow righteous ways. And it mentioned the seed there, right? So this is directly related to the practice of semen retention. I mean, if you get into the scripture, it's very clear that our seed is sacred. It really is. And so when we're looking at screens, when we're lusting, when we're doing all of this worldly behavior, we're sacrificing the gifts of the spirit for the gifts of the flesh, which are temporary, which are quick fixes. It's a lot like a drug addict. You need more and more all the time. You get less and less results, and eventually you're left in this pit of despair. And at which point you will either die there or you will call out to God and God will save you. So let's get into the 5 ways that you know that you are a chosen one. Because like I said in the beginning, like God said, he chose you before you were born. So right off the bat, you guys, we were different. Right off the bat, you were different. Now the first thing, these are in no particular order of importance. They're just 5 things. First thing, empathy. Empathy. Another word for that would be sensitivity. Okay, so you were somebody that right off the bat, you had an ability to feel what other people were feeling, and you cared. You cared about what other people were feeling. You couldn't not, and you were very sensitive, and it didn't take a lot for people to hurt you. Okay, because you were born into a world where many people are asleep and ignorant. There's a lot of cruelty, there's a lot of wickedness, there's a lot of deception, there's a lot of conditioning and programming going on. And you came in here with this ability to empathize, and you felt the pain of everything going around. You felt the chaos, right? You felt all that. And so, me personally, as a very, very young child, I was already getting like depressed, like at age 3, 4, and 5. Because I was so sensitive and I could feel everything that was going on, and I didn't have any context for it. Nobody explained this to me properly. I just felt everything, you guys. And then so naturally, of course, later on in life, I became an addict to so many different substances, behaviors, patterns, relationship addiction, sex addiction. I could go on and on and on because I needed some way to numb the pain, because I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't understand that empathy was actually a spiritual gift. All right, because once we become grounded in righteous action, grounded in faith, once we get on like retention, right? this ability of ours is now grounded in something. It's like I was before we were a ship without a rudder, or we were a tree without roots. You know, this righteous action that we're taking roots us firmly into the earth. So now we can feel these things, but we're not knocked down by them, right? And it becomes a blessing, not a curse. All right. So number 2, feeling different than everybody else. And I have this couple, this is kind of like a 2-parter, the second one. You have an ability to see things in a way that other people don't see things. You have insight, foresight that not everybody has, that not all your classmates have. And you may have been ridiculed for this. You may have felt set apart, and you may have overcompensated to try and fit in. That was my experience. And then you tried to fit in with people who were not quite on that level spiritually. And you felt in order to fit in, you had to lower yourself to their level to be accepted. And I think all of us probably did that. I know I did. I did it for way too long. All right. And that leads me to number 3, which is facing persecution. Because you're different, you feel different. Other people can see things in you maybe that you can't see in yourself. And other people sense that you are different. There is something about you. There's a potential in you. And a lot of people are threatened by it. Some people are inspired by it, but most people are threatened by it. It's just the way it is. We face persecution, we get bullied, we get gaslit. We end up in relationships with narcissists that want to suck our energy because we have this special kind of energy. And these people that believe they don't have it want to take it from you. Now they're in a delusion because they have access to what we have access to if they would simply surrender to God. But they're not ready to give up worldly ways. They're not ready to come out of their delusion. So they're threatened. They're threatened by us. And so naturally we face adversity. We face tremendous adversity. And this is God testing us and strengthening us and preparing us for what's to come. All right, because like in the beginning, God knew in the beginning, God chose you in the beginning, and God knows everything. So all of this adversity that we've faced was like a testing ground. It was like we were going through spiritual boot camp, and we had to suffer like crazy to get to where we are now. Okay, and that brings me to number 4, which is we have an unusual ability to heal. And this is something that other people will also notice about us, is we can hit rock bottom. We can be injured, hurt, addicted, depressed, suicidal, imprisoned, institutionalized, you name it. And then people watch us transform. And this is another thing people are threatened by. Very much so. Because most people in the world try and stay the same. Whatever they think they are, they try and stay there. They don't want to leave. They don't want to go this way, this way, this way. They don't want to change. Because then their friends might leave them. They're afraid of losing people. They're afraid of losing things that they're going to lose anyways. We're all going to lose all of this anyways, right? And so chosen ones know that, right? So we don't have that kind of fear. Especially when we step into our power and we start getting on the righteous path. All right? And people will see the transformations we make. And other chosen ones are going to be happy for you. They're going to love to see you shine. That's another quality of a chosen one, by the way, is that you actually have the capacity to feel happy for other people's success. And it really doesn't even matter who they are. It's like I see anybody in a nice car, I'm like, cool, I'm stoked for that dude. See somebody with a beautiful wife and family, I'm stoked for them, man. See anybody healing, thriving, succeeding in life, realizing their goals, I'm happy for them, genuinely. And other chosen ones are happy for me when they see me thriving. But you see, we're few and far between. So most people are going to experience jealousy. They're going to feel threatened. They're going to feel intimidated. They're going to watch you, but they're not going to say nothing. You know, you're going to continue to excel at something, and they're going to sit there feeling jealous and insecure. When in fact, they really do have access to what we do. They just don't believe it. They don't believe it. All right. And that brings me to number 5. Chosen ones. We love God. We love God more than we love the world. Plain and simple. We love God more than we love the world. And as we progress on this path, especially the semen retention path, because we're overcoming one of the greatest strongholds in this world against men, we start to become more and more in love with God instead of in love with the flesh, instead of in love with what a woman can do for us, in love with sensual pleasure and satisfaction and quick fixes. We love God more than anything than the world has to offer us, because we feel God's presence. We feel him. We've come to know him. It's no longer a belief in God, it's a knowledge. It's a deep, deep knowledge. We are in a relationship with God to the extent that we don't really have time for worldly affairs. We don't want to waste our time sitting in front of a TV watching sports, eating junk food, having low vibe conversations. We don't have time for gossip. We don't have time to talk about what this and that celebrity's doing, who's dating who. We don't have time. What's the point? And you try to engage in these kinds of conversations and you're cringing inside. You'd rather be alone. By the way, that's another quality of a chosen one, is we're okay alone. If we have to go it alone, so what? Because we know we're not really alone. And when we're alone, we get to be closer to God, and that's great. It's beautiful. The best conversations I have are with God or with other chosen ones. Okay? We love God more than we love the world. Because the world, first of all, it's temporary. Second of all, it's corrupted. It's thoroughly corrupted. And as we progress on this path, that becomes more and more obvious. So I'd rather go spend the day alone in nature than go to any club or any concert or any sporting event or anything of that nature. I mean, generally, I'd rather just go spend time in nature than even go to church, because of all the chaotic energy that can happen there sometimes. You know, some churches obviously better than others. Sometimes it's beautiful. Sometimes it's a bit much for us because we're so empathic and sensitive, and we already have such a connection. It's like we don't need to go into some specific building to feel that. No. Kingdom of Heaven's right here. It's within us. So, all right, that's enough for this video, you guys. If you're enjoying the content, like, subscribe, share, reach out. Let's stick together. There's not that many of us. But I believe that we have a duty to fulfill here. And it's beautiful. It's worth celebrating, all right? Peace and love.